There is no such thing that you can define as a perfect version of a man. You need to look after the men in your life. You need to let them know on a constant basis how good they are and how many sacrifices they're making. My name is Shez Sheikh, I'm the Urban Hippie, and this is my vlog, and we're on episode 9, and it just so happens to be International Men's Day. So, a big shout out to all of you kings out there, especially the handful of you that help me keep my head above water every single day. Thank you so much for your constant love and support. There's only a handful of you, but you mean the world to me, so thank you for that. So what's International Men's Day about? Well, I'm going to link up to the video here now that shows you from the official International Men's Day video what International Men's Day is all about. So here we go, let's have a look at that.
International Men's Day on November 19 celebrates positive male role models and the loving strength that men bring to their families and communities. We highlight the need to address the male suicide crisis, and we advocate for men's health and well-being. This year, our theme is better relations between men and women.
Wangari Maathai, the first African woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize, said, "We can work together for a better world with men and women of goodwill."
Edwin Lewis Cole said, "Men and women have strengths that complement each other."
Elizabeth Cady Stanton said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal."
Bernie Sanders said, "When men and women stand together for justice, we all win."
So on November 19, wish everyone a happy International Men's Day.
So I think if we have, I'm going to take you on the website here, and the website says, on November the 19th, International Men's Day celebrates worldwide the positive value men bring to the world, their families and communities. We highlight positive role models and raise awareness of men's well-being. This year's theme is better relations between men and women. So we've got quite a lot to talk about. First and foremost, let me start at the very beginning. Me and my brother have never had a positive male role model in our lives. He might have now because he's lived in Canada for 10 years. I don't think he has. He would have if he'd have told me. But as a young boy, our father left us, and so from that point on, we never had positive male role models in our lives. Where I'm from, in the UK, and I'm of Pakistani descent. In England, we say that's Asian, so in the Asian community, but in America and Canada, they say Indian community, even if we're Pakistani. In the Asian, Indian, whatever you want it, culture, it's not common. Well, it wasn't common in the late 80s, early 90s for men and women, particularly Muslims, to split up or get divorced or whatever. So me and my brother were outcasted, like, we were treated badly by other males, even fathers of friends and fathers of other people and elder cousins and stuff who are a lot older than us. We didn't have cousins our age. Me and my brother have always struggled with the concept of a male role model because we never had one. Because our dad wasn't around and we were raised by a single mother, other men used to try and mug us off. Other men used to always take shots at us. Whatever we did was wrong, especially because I don't know whether I was just born different, me and my brother, and me especially, I think I was just born different, so individual, and my brother. We were always trying to be cutting edge, we were always trying to be ahead of the curve, and nobody ever encouraged us, nobody ever supported us. So for that made me realize even more importantly how important it is to have a male role model, because especially as I've grown up, I never had a male role model. My dad left us. Before he left us, he was a great dad, and until he had his meltdown or whatever caused him to walk out when we were 10 and 11 years old, he was a good dad. So I'm not saying I never had a male role model, but even in the years that he was there, he wasn't always there. And the men in our lives, other than that, weren't great men. And I'm going to come to the topic of great men later. That's something that I've always struggled with. And I know a lot of my mental health issues, a lot of my insecurities, a lot of the problems I've got in my life come from that. So if you've had a positive male role model in your life, I'm so happy for you and I'm proud of you and I congratulate you for that. And I celebrate, and you're lucky, you've been lucky. All my mental health issues come from identity of manhood, of what it means to be a man. So growing up, because our dad wasn't around, we found role model figures in hip hop, especially in the mid-90s, and our go-to guy was Tupac. And if you know anything about Tupac, you know Tupac was a very conflicted man. And I don't know whether because we related to him so much, that's why I grew up so conflicted. On the one hand, you've got this amazing, generous man who loves women because he's raised by a single woman, and he sings Dear Mama and Brenda's Got a Baby. And on the other hand, he was very misogynistic towards women, and hip-hop culture as a general thing was always very misogynistic. That conflict from Tupac and hip-hop in general, growing up, caused a lot of misidentity as well, because your role model, you don't choose. Sometimes you don't get to choose your role models. You just pick somebody that you're in love with or you fall in love with as a child, and Tupac was someone that we really identified with. So that caused a lot of misidentity growing up. And by the way, I wouldn't change that because I really still idolize Tupac. I had other male role models, like I loved Kurt Cobain's music and then he ended up committing suicide. I love Bob Marley. So when it comes to the concept of celebrating men, I say celebrate men. I say celebrate the men in your lives. They need to be told how important they are. As someone who's been in some long-term relationships, I can honestly say I've never been celebrated. I've never felt celebrated. I've always felt second, third choice, fourth choice in the women I've been in their lives. I've always felt like I was less important than their own family. I've always felt like I was less important than the people that they've grown up with. And that was hard for me. And that's probably why I'm single now. I'm going to take a look at why I'm single in next week's vlog. So if you're not already, subscribe to the channel because next week I'll be looking at that. So never being celebrated by other people, or never feeling valued, or never feeling truly important, does have a massive effect on your mental health. It's always had a massive effect. It's the biggest reason in my life of why I've probably had at times low self-worth, low self-esteem, because even though I've always tried to make myself feel important, I've never had that validation, and I've always needed it because I never had it growing up. It's a weird cycle that you have. It's a weird thing. Feel like I don't need it, but deep down I really needed it, and it never came. And now I'm at a point where I really don't need it, but yet deep down I crave it. Who doesn't want to be celebrated? Who doesn't want to feel valued and appreciated? So to everybody out there, whether you're a female or a male, if you've got males in your life, let them know. And don't just let them know on November the 19th. Let them know throughout the year. Let them know all the time, because that's what life's about. It's about telling the people that you love all the time that they're special and that they're loved, so that they feel like that. And when they're not in good places, lifting them up. Because to me, what does being a good man mean? It means lifting other people up. That's what I'm trying to teach my son. I'm trying to teach my son because I never had a positive role model, and now my son is also being raised in a broken home. So I feel like my job as a father is even more important, which is why when I've got my son, I don't do anything else. All I do is focus on him, and shout out to all the good dads out there. So I'm saying that I see a lot of you out there trying to be really good role models for your kids, but not enough of you are. And I was having a really deep conversation with my best friend Sam, who's also a really good guy who deserves a shout out. Shout out to you, Sam. He's not got kids, and he was saying that he doesn't see enough of his friends and enough of the males in his life who've got kids putting their kids first. They're still acting immature and still much more concerned about their own life. Straight after International Men's Day, it's International Children's Day, and I think the 2 days have been put together so that you can talk about the special relationship between men and their kids. And that's something that really society needs to work on. As a man, it's never been harder to be a man, I don't think. Maybe it has when there was great wars and stuff, but in the times that we're living in now, in a post-COVID world, with the state of things at the moment, it's hard being a man at the moment with all the responsibilities and all the pressures, especially out there with social media. And I think the most important thing is you need to look after the men in your life. You need to let them know on a constant basis how good they are and how many sacrifices they're making. And the theme of this year's International Men's Day is the relationship between men and women. And I'm probably not the perfect person to ask when it comes to a man and a woman in a loving relationship of being a couple, but when it comes to men and women generally and the relationship between the two genders, I'm quite good at that because I love women and I respect women, and a lot of women, shout out to all the women on Instagram who I'm connected with and all the women that reach out to me, and we talk on a daily, regularly basis, and I love yous all and thank you for keeping my head above water. I think men get a lot of unnecessary judgment from women. Men get very generalized by women. On the flip side, I think men do a lot of bad shit. I know so many men who I'm very closely connected with who do so much bad shit, especially to the women that they're with, and especially thinking that their women don't know what's going on. And I was recently watching American Crime Story, Impeachment, and I was looking at the way Bill Clinton took advantage of Monica Lewinsky. And obviously she was not perfect in the scenario, but the way that he handled that was appalling. And at that time in the mid-90s, he got away with it. Men with power abuse that power, and all the bad shit that goes on in the world, 95% of it's probably all done by men, right? And prisons are filled with men, predominantly. More men are in prison than women. More men commit crimes than women. And that probably comes, I'm not justifying men abusing power, I could never do that, but it's hard being a man because men have still not learned how to talk about their emotions. Men have not learned how to seek out support. I'm great at talking on a camera about how I feel, but when I'm in a low spot, I can't pick up the phone and reach out to people. And it's the truth. I know loads of men that will tell you everything's okay, but deep down everything's not okay. And that's what we need to strive for. And maybe the ideal way of doing that is creating a culture in our community where men can talk about things, where men can talk about how they feel openly without judgment, without feeling less of a man, because that's what it comes down to. It's that feeling of not being a man. And the worst thing a woman can say to a man is, you're not a man, act like a man. Because what is a man? If a man's macho, then it's wrong. If a man's too gentle, then it's wrong. So you want this balance, but not everybody has that balance. So accept the gentlemen and accept the macho men. I think the whole concept of being a man is to be flawed. There is no such thing as a perfect man. We're all just out here trying to do our best. So shout out to all the men who are watching this video. Shout out to all the men I know in my life. Shout out to the good ones. International Men's Day is a great concept. It's a great idea. I would love to feel celebrated, but it's not about being celebrated one day of the year. It's about being celebrated all the time. It's about being valued all the time. And in closing, I will say that I think being a man is all about being flawed and just trying to be the best version of yourself that you can. There is no such thing that you can define as a perfect version of a man. The only man I know that is perfect is Steve Rogers, Captain America, because he always tries to do the right thing. He always tries to do the right thing in the right time, even if that means going against the system, even if that, and don't come at me with Team Iron Man or Team Tony, because Tony Stark is obnoxious. Tony Stark is so arrogant, and I love Iron Man, don't get me wrong, he's a great character, but I'm Team Cap all the way, and Steve Rogers is the perfect one. Okay, kings and queens, I'm going to take your leave now. Big love and blessings to you all. I'll be back tomorrow with how to improve your mental health. Next week's episode of Urban Hippie Vlog is going to be very interesting because we're going to be talking all about my single life. So hit the subscribe button for that. If you like this video on International Men's Day, please hit the like button. Until then, I shall take your leave. We all need a positive